What's up, everyone? It's late night live. Nothing that's really on the agenda. A part of me coming live tonight was to probably recap some of the events today at the World Championships or what we saw over these last few days at the World Indoor Championships in China. With a little bit more perspective, talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Uh, Yeah, any other sport, I follow and watch a lot of different types of sports. So a little chit chat, up to you. I know it's kind of late. It's a spur of moment. I didn't really schedule it properly. I was planning to come live. I talked to my producer about it, and then I fell asleep today and never really figured out how I wanted to do it. And yeah, but I'm here now. So if y'all want to talk, come through. This is the place for it. I can stay for a little bit and look forward to talking about any kind of sport. One of the interesting things I was thinking about today at these World Championships, because I spent some time talking about it, and some of the people who are regulars on the channel who come on and comment in a way was thinking that it was somewhat boring, and part of that is true. The World Championships this time didn't give a sense of excitement, but I wonder if that's a internal thing. I wonder if that's a thing that we wanted to see more star power and didn't get it. There was some star power on display, and we can talk more about it if you want. And I felt like the event was a bit slow in terms of how quickly they moved through the events in Nanjing. Uh, Part of the television spectacle, I imagine, for track and field is that you don't really necessarily want to have a lot of downtime, especially if you're a TV audience person. You're not there, you're not kind of feeling the vibes of the place. So I can see that. Yeah. And thanks, people, for joining. It's just a late night live. I don't even know what to call this live. Everything that comes to mind is probably already copyrighted. But yeah, but I was thinking about it. There's so many things to unpack, and see what's going on. Chuck for all, what's going on, man? Will the Jamaican Big Three make the World Champion final? Uh, are you talking about the existing Big Three on the women's side, or you're talking about an emergence of a Big Three on the men's side when it comes to, say, Thompson, Seville, and Akeem Blake? Let me know, and we can unpack that for sure. Uh, Kind of early in general, but yeah, we'll see. Chris, my man, what's going on there in Australia? I saw you commented on stuff about John Landy. I had a video on John Landy last week. I think I did a video on John Landy, shorts there. So I don't know if you saw it, but do check it out as well. It was funny. I had done this John Landy video, and when we looked at it, we ended up with a situation of then the following week you get this New Zealand kid uh, becoming the youngest ever to break the sub 4 minute barrier. And I did see that you say you met Roger Bannister. That must have been a treat, and so on. I'll try to respond at some point, and so on. Australian high jump girl. Oh yeah, I mean the girls today were fantastic, and the relays. Yeah, Eleanor Patterson, Alice Lagos, obviously ensuring that she regain her medal. I didn't think that would have happened, to be honest with you. I thought Yaroslava, when she got into high gear, if she would have won, but I don't know. Let's talk about it. But track fall had something earlier. The old women. So you're talking about Jackson, Fraser-Pryce, and Elaine Thompson. I don't know. Very good question you're asking, to be honest with you. I think Shericka Jackson should be fine this year. We'll see. Interesting season for her. She has a bye in the 200 meters. So they'll monitor that. Uh, A healthy Shericka Jackson should get you back to sometimes, but I don't know how what that how the injuries work, and if she's fully healthy. I don't have any insight right now. I haven't asked anybody either, so that's a good question there. I think, given her age, I suspect that she could be back and healthy. If she's healthy, I think she'll be fine. I don't know what's happening with Elaine or even Fraser Price. You know, as you know, Fraser Price left the setup that she partially created too. So I don't know if she's serious about running this year or not, or if she should. But it would be good to see. But yeah, health wise, I'm not quite sure. I guess we'll find out very soon. We'll find out. I think a lot of people are holding stuff to their cards, and it's a lot of speculation. And I don't have the kind of insight yet, or I haven't asked the right people, so I don't feel really comfortable commenting on it. But I think there's an emergence of new talent. That you hope will come through. I think the Clayton sisters. I mean, one of them for sure, but two of them might be on fire this year. I'm also optimistic about Brianna Williams, but I have not seen anything, obviously. But I'm only optimistic largely because when John Smith gets his mind around an athlete and around a project, I think he normally pulls through in terms of bringing it to fruition. And when you saw, she moved to John Smith, which wasn't an entire year, so not really. Um, she didn't really necessarily got a chance to really immerse herself with John Smith. But I think he's excited about the project, and whenever he's excited, then people should take notice. You look at the camp that he has; he doesn't have tons of people. At least at the beginning of last year, I don't know what the setup looks like right now, and so you hope that she can kick on, right? But it it may take a while to establish the kind of dominance that you would want to see again. But can the Clayton sisters get into the into the 10-7s this year? I don't know. At least one of them, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, I saw the bronze. I mean, I thought you guys did well on the relays as well today. I felt like Australia came to this meet thinking about doing well, and they did so, right? And you can't really argue around that. It's They showed up in some interesting ways. I like what I saw from that. But again, I think the morning when you think about Olasegas and Patterson, they've been around a while, and it's a high class feel in the high jump. If we're being honest with ourselves here, Manuchuk is there, Yaroslava, Angelina Topic was also in the mix. So we're talking about individuals that are at the top of their game. There are some other names there not getting up to that level, but separated by countbacks in for silver and gold, obviously, and yeah, the same for bronze and fourth place. So interesting. I was shocked that Yaroslava didn't win, but but not in the way that you would think that the likes of Oleslegas or even Eleanor Patterson couldn't find their way on top of the podium. So in that case, I think that was a really good showing for the Australian. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that, Chuck. I no answer. Uh, When was our last year in high school? Was it like a few years ago? Fairly bit, or was it last year? I can't recall. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I have to. Yeah, I gotta ask about that too. But yeah, she. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, that's what, like a couple of years ago for sure. 2023 looked like a talented athlete, a bit bigger than I would anticipate at the time. But that I don't. Yeah, I should be careful the way I say that because I don't want to make it look like. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so good. That's a tough question. I have to find out. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think if you were watching today, I want to go back to a few things. I thought out of all the surprises at this championship, I would say maybe Claire Bryant winning the long jump. If I'm unpacking it a little bit, seems the one that came out of left field, to use another sports terminology. 696 to get a PB there. That was a big jump for her, and kind of separated herself there. And it was a decent competition. There's Diami there, Kaylin was there, a few others. But I like what I saw there. I was also happy for Prudence Segadiso. In my mind, I was thinking too, she could have gotten herself on the podium, and but I didn't think she would have won. And I don't know what happened to Dugaman. I haven't checked any reports to see if she was ill or mistimed things badly, but she finished way down the track, which suggests that something wasn't right with the Ethiopian, because she's a class act. But fantastic run by Prudence there, and you know she was shocked, very very shocked to see that she won the race. I don't think she believed it. You could see her reaction after, and that signal uh how much she enjoyed the victory, but how much she probably didn't feel within herself that she could have pulled this off. And sometimes that's the beauty about sport; they surprise you. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, what else you guys want to talk about if you're on the live? I know not many people are on the live tonight. I didn't pre-plan it well, and so I just felt like I should come on and do something. Yeah, let me see. I want to talk. I talked about this today, but with some more perspective, I guess. And also, I was a bit harsh today on Grace Stark, but I was I think I figured it out by it before I came off the live. But the 60-meter. Hi, Sonia. How are you doing? Good to see you. The 60-meter hurdles today was really, really, really good. And people have been saying this for years. I've been saying this, that the hardest thing to predict in all of track and field is women's sprint hurdles, right? And by extension, we're talking about 100 meters and the 60-meter hurdles. Very, very difficult to predict. And there's a bunch of women on any given day that can pull this off. And what we saw in the final, and even to get to that final, really suggests that the space is interesting. How are you doing, Objectivity? Big up to you as well. So I'm going to put up the results. I know we saw it today, but I just want to show it again. Charlton from the Bahamas, 772. Kambunji, 773. 774 from Nugent. Shericka 774, Stark 774, Vessa 776. I mean, Nadine Vessa is probably one of those athletes that wonders what happens in life, right? You run these type of times and you're not even on the medal podium. She knows what that feels like to run a fabulous time too at the Olympics last year, and nothing as well. But a few things here. I'll start with the Charlton. I didn't anticipate Charlton winning. And that shows how much we really know or can really predict about women's 60 meters or women's sprint hurdles, because you compare Charlton's season to this season, last season to this season. Well, I guess last year was just a special year for her, breaking the world record twice, winning that championship in Glasgow. But not the best of seasons this year in terms of that same standard where people start to look sideways, even around the space, kind of writing her off. And she found a way. And Kambunji's was having a kind of season that was very close to world record shape too. Just a few, you know, strokes off of the world record in her ability. And then Akira Nugent, who, was crying a lot afterwards, but, very emotional, which we should applaud because, and we should take note of this, I think, when it comes to Nugent, because Olympic final didn't go our way, clattered. Semi-final, you've seen the pictures, the videos of how she knocked that hurdle and it went flying, and could have took her out, could have took the other athlete in the semi-final out as well. And she barely makes it. If she didn't finish second, because the Chinese athlete was just right there as well. If she didn't finish second in that semi-final, then she would never make the final. And then she finds a way here to get on the podium. So it's a big step for her, because I think mentally what that proves is it's one thing to run the great times, and she's had some of the fastest times in the year or two, and last season as well, there are 12.2s. And to know that you're amongst the mix of the high caliber athletes, because she's one of them, and to know that you can be in that space, it's one thing to know that, but it's another thing to really get a coveted medal, to get on a podium. And I think this will probably change the way she looks at the rest of the season, because now she knows she belongs, but now I think it might be a signal that I can get on this, and I get on the podium again. And there's work to be done. I mean, sometimes that start is off. She sits in the blocks. It depends, but I was happy for her and so on. I was a bit harsh on Grace, and I shouldn't be, because this is a photo finish separation here. But I thought she ran a bit too hard, Grace Stark, that is, in the earlier rounds. But she came back and ran a fabulous time again of 7.74. So it's just unfortunate. And this is the photo finish thing. This is why we need photo finish, because there's no way we could separate that. Let me get back to some of the comments here. I know a few of you come through. Julius here. How you doing? I think got to see you back on. What is April 9th? 2601. Last night you were yeah. Let's see what else is going on here. Track for all. Last year, 12 women on the 1240, and the world record holder Toby Emerson at 1240. The races are so unpredictable. It's wonderful. It is wonderful. It is the joy of the sport so far, I believe. I want to say in the immediate future, I can't see it changing, because the quality of the athletes are so high still. And you probably get a few coming back. Let's see what, there's some world-class athletes, like a Brittany Anderson comes to mind, that if she can get back to shape, hopefully she can after that surgery. She came back last year, but hopefully this year is the year you see her. It is remarkable how well these women can get to it. And it's changing, right? We'll have some changing of the guard as well, but the women's sprint hurdles, ultra competitive. It's the toughest thing in all athletics right now. I keep saying this and I feel like a broken record, but there's no other way to think about it. The only way you can be confident as an athlete that you can get on a podium is if you're capable of running 12.2s. I think that's the only way you can feel like I can get on this podium. You have to feel like I can run a 12.2, or I've run a 12.2 before. So if you're going to a major championship, or even on the circuit maybe not so much, but getting close to a major championship, you want to be hitting a 12.2. If you can hit 12.2, then you say, on a good night, I can win this. and feel confident about winning. It may not require you to run a 12-2. So I try to clarify. It doesn't mean you have to run 12-2 to make the podium, but you have to be capable of doing it. And I think that's the space that the women have put us through. And you go back how long ago, that whole Donkova stuff, 12-2s were there. Then you hit 12-3s. You could win championships at 12-5s and, and even higher, you're medaling. And now you can run a 12. What's her name? That Jamaican athlete, Megan Topper, twice, I think, had the fastest times never to make it into a final when she was sitting on a bubble in a couple of world championships there. I think in the last two world championships, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So there is a definite step up and a requirement that if you're going to be competitive, you can't be in a 12-4 range and expect to do anything. It's just ridiculous. But I love it. I love it. And thanks everyone for joining. Don't forget to like. Track forward. Are we putting too much pressure on Gout too soon? And by we, I'm not sure. I don't think he's under any pressure. Pressure will come. Demands for his time, as I understand it, is coming. In terms of everyone wants to speak to Gout. But from what I gather, they're managing him well. So when was it? Maybe 2 months ago, I heard I was listening to his agent on another outlet, and it seems as if there's a plan for Gout. A plan where they're taking it in stages. So tremendous talent. In a way, when I'm reflecting on Gout, part of you want him to be in a setup where it's harder to get on a team, right? That's the way I would think about it, right? If he was from the USA, if he was from Jamaica, he probably would get on a team. But still, if he at least a 200 team, if he was, a major country for track and field that can produce some athletes, that we wouldn't necessarily be thinking about him, and that would give him some more time to breathe. But he's gonna fly out of Australia as their finest. And so that comes with a level of pressure. The guy's a young man, but as far as I hear, they have a plan for him. A lot of people are instantly saying, "Oh, we want to see God over 1 and 2." And up until I guess 2 months ago, earlier this year, there was no indication that they have any plans of him running any 100 meters or anything of that. They're just gonna keep him in the 2, try to develop him. They understand that he's a growing boy, still developing, and there's a lot of learning that needs to happen, building a body that can go the distance. And they're thinking about his career as a long-term career. You look at Gout, I would say you target the LA Olympics. You think he can, maybe get to, I think he will be at the World Championships, to be honest with you, because he's gonna make the team and so on. But they have to be careful because he's still a lad and his career is too. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to see him run some 400s at some point. That would be the first place before you get him going down. I think going up would be a logical step, but who knows? Yeah. But I don't think, I'm not sure where the pressure might come from. Obviously, there's excitement when you see it. I get excited. Everybody gets excited whenever you see a young talent, and you think the next logical step is like planning their professional life. And it's hard to get caught up in that. And that's why you need a circle around you that can bring you down to earth. It's the same thing that's happening to like the likes of a Quincy Wilson, who, if anyway, I should not say anything about Quincy. I think he's a fabulous kid and I wish him the very best. objectively say, I'm curious to see him when his man strengths come in. He looks good, but we've seen 17 and 18-year-olds look good before. No, you're absolutely right. We've seen a lot before. I think there are more look good athletes that don't transition to the to the senior level, but if he turns out to be a world class professional athlete, no one will be surprised, right? And I don't want to put him in any terms with anybody, but we've seen a lot of junior talent. You know, if you watch them at the World U20 or what they used to have, the World 18 and 20s, you could find athletes who, for whatever reason, didn't transition, right? And it's funny you would say that. I've been doing a few things about uh I was looking back at the World Under 20 Championships in 2016 just to see where some of those athletes are. I think we have some videos coming out on it, some short videos just for fun. But if you look at some of those athletes, they've virtually disappeared. Like, you know, Mondo didn't even win his under 20 World Championships when he was in 2016, but he was younger too. Uh but some of these other people haven't progressed either. So there is a thing where you gotta take care of him. I'm also wondering if at some point they'll move him from Australia. I think this year he did leave Australia a little bit to do some training somewhere else, but he's still with the same setup. He likes it, as I understand. And Chris can talk about it if he's still on the live. He's from Australia. He knows a little bit more about it as well. The family's there. There's talks about his sister being potentially a really good athlete, and yeah, and he's a level-headed kid from everything that they're saying, right? But if you get into a situation where he's doing the right things and he's just running well, and sometimes if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? That's usually the sentiment. Sometimes we've seen prodigies before. We have often think it's a big man sport, but you know some sports are different. You know, you can draw parallels with even look at football right now. La Lima, not the Brazilian, the Spanish kid, Yamal, you know, so there, I know it's different sports, but he could come out, right? And if he does well at the World Championships this year, then maybe they step it up and if he can take it, right? Yeah. Let's see. I'll get back to that in a second. Track for objectivity. I know what you're what you're about to say about. Yeah, I'm gonna stay out of that for now. Only because the kid is a lad, right? And but I think he's capitalizing a lot. And I think it's a good thing too because you just never know where your next check will come, right? And I don't know where his ceiling is either. It's harder for me to think about where his ceiling is, but we'll see. Uh, Track for All is saying what needs to be done to get Jamaica athletes into middle and long distance. I wish I really knew the answer to this. I could speculate, but I wish I knew. I think structure matters. You have to lay the groundwork for running and enjoying running. This week we'll see the high school championships. I'm looking forward to that. I already purchased my subscription. And we will spend time and listen to people cover the sport. So I'm going to be slightly critical as well. And we'll just get a perspective that's geared towards sprinting. And even in the analysis of the 800s and above, it's lacking. So that's one thing. But you have to get a culture around the running. It's not and you have to have the structure. At some point, you need talent, but I don't think talent is an issue, right? the big question now in distance running is what's happening to the Africans, right? Like there's this kind of an argument going on. I don't know if there's anything really happening. The sports science has really gotten much better uh, in distance running, especially the technological ways of tracking stuff, in particular in Europe and the United States as well. There's all these kind of different things that they're doing. I'm not saying that alone impacts the thing, but part of that you need, right? Part of that you have to have the right coaching setup to really define middle distance athletes, right? We're poor when it comes to pushing through some of these things. We will see some 800 meters being run by class one boys this week that are like 150s, and you're like, what is going on there, right? That's not even, it's just not a thing. And so more road running, more culture of running, better understanding of this, and then you need to support it in a way that can produce it, right? So it's just not going to happen like that if we're going to be honest with ourselves. We don't have the role models for it. And it's sad in a way if you look at even women in particular. So we had that era of Kenya Sinclair in the 800 when she became an elite, and in the mix, it took some time to get Gould, and then Gould was elite for a long time and still is. Managed to run some top class times, for whatever reason, never made it on a major podium, but is on the circuit a lot, finds her way into championship finals over the years. That hasn't really clicked on to say you get a bunch of people coming through. Perhaps it doesn't mean even if you end up with like the greatest sprinter of all time, Usain Bolt, means that you're gonna kick on with about 50 different next sprinters in line, right? I think that doesn't really happen. It's not a linear thing. Maybe you get more interest there, but I think I see there's a bigger structure for handling things in the sprint than in the middle distances, and it has to change, especially at the grassroots level, and better appreciation for cross country, better appreciation for lots of road running, and the ability to train athletes like this, and the discipline to do it as well, right? It's a lot of running. You got to do a lot of miles. You got to be 100, how many miles you're clocking all the time. So you need these running clubs. You need things that maybe can unearth some talented individuals. And likewise, it's not a strong point. So then you don't necessarily get to export some of these athletes the way you would in terms of in a collegiate system or something like that, to give them a few years of support there that could probably honor some talent. So I think there might be talented athletes there to just not be nurtured in the same way. It's just, I don't want to be ultra critical in the structure, but I think you might agree, and a lot of people might agree. There are areas in which you feel like you could get more out of. I still think you can get more out of the jumps. That's coming around. I think all the explosive events you would anticipate that if their kind of capability or raw material or talent should be there, and I think this should be good enough to get athletes up to 800 meters. But it's not easy. It's a hard thing to do, and when you start getting at the super elite level, you get all these people going to Kenya or Flagstaff, Arizona, or Denver for altitude training. It becomes different at the professional level, but I think it could be fixed, right? I think you need role models. You need to change the script on it, and it's hard work. A lot of running, but everything in track and field is hard work. There's no easy event, right? But to convince people that this is what you do, right? It's not I don't think it's a, and I know I'm going on very long on this. I don't think it's a situation where, I think it's a nurturing thing, you know? Yeah. It's a nurturing thing, but not, not like we lack the ability, right? I think it's just whether or not they do it. Danger Dream, you're down for nightly chats. All right, appreciate that. Yeah, so that's how I think about it, right? What else you guys want to talk about? Anything? It's your life. I didn't have anything really planned. I just knew I was saying I was coming live, and I didn't advertise it properly. But I apologize. But we'll try to get that sorted out. What else? Oh, Gudaf Tsegay. Since I'm on a roll, I want to shout out Gudaf Tsegay. I was very disappointed with Gudaf's performance last year in Paris. The entire season, in essence, never quite got a good explanation of it. Excuse me. Or maybe I didn't even seek out the answer properly, but I felt like Gudaf left. This is an all-time great athlete, Tsegay. We're witnessing. And for whatever reason last year, maybe she was hurt, injured, or she didn't say much, or there's something else. Athlete, the athlete mental state isn't at the level that it needs to be. But it was pretty much a meltdown, and she tried a thing last year and walked away with nothing to show. Right, and the Ethiopians in general were struggling at the Olympics. I mean, there's a few bright spots, obviously, but that was a shocker from Gudaf. And she starts this indoor season on a canter, all going down. I think she has second fastest time ever, or somewhere there indoors earlier this year. She's pulling up stuff in the 15s and the 3,000 meter distances, and I like what I saw. And then today in that final, I wondered if she was doing something crazy. She went out and she was just killing it, going out super hard, and maybe in the end, probably a little bit too hard, because at the end she had to. You could see the pace coming down. She couldn't keep up with it, but she was pushing herself to a level. But I interpreted it differently at the end, and I'm not saying it's an original idea. Maybe other people have said this. I haven't checked. But what she was doing there was to signal that I'm not just winning this barely. I am back, and I'm gonna be on top of the world again this year. I want to see it. I don't know if she will be on top of the world because it's a very competitive space, but track and field needs a good enough guy that's on top. She's just that good, and so massive run there. Championship record 3 minutes, 54:86, something like that, I think. Uh, very commanding performance from her. And Weltelje was there too, and Bell from Great Britain, who have always had a good structure for middle distance running too there. So maybe we need to take some lessons from the Brits. But to answer your earlier question, but I wanted to shout out to Gudaf Tsegay, because I thought that what she did was fantastic. Really some standout performances too from Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Put himself in rarefied territory to hold both the gold medals there over two distances at the World Indoor Championships. Haile Gebrselassie type territory. So, and Jakob, generational talent. Let's see what he does this year in 1,500 meters. I suspect 5,000 meters he still will have on lock as we get outdoors. So not worried about that. Mondo Duplantis, 3 victories in a row there as well. Crazy jump. Probably, as I mentioned a couple nights ago, I felt Karailis from Greece stand out for me, going 6:05. That kid can probably go higher, and that's good for the pole vault. And then Munjinga Kumbunji, athlete I always have a lot of time for, securing another medal. I didn't even think she would have, I think she was in the mix. I never count her out, but find a way on top of the podium. So those are some big stuff there for sure. Clip, what's going on, my man? Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, so it's one of those nights, I felt like, we should come talk. Anything you want to talk about, any other sport. I don't know if you guys watch March Madness or cricket. I was watching a little IPL today. And then I saw the ending of, I think it was Italy, Germany in the Nations League. Then I fell asleep. So, yeah. Let's see. Did the US women's 4x1 relay team last year blow the best what at the world record in 36 years when Gabby Thomas stumbled and Alexis Holmes celebrated her? Possibly. That was an interesting run. But the thing about it is, I think they can do it again. I think there's a possibility. Look, that's a tough record to go, right? The record for the 4x4 has been on the books for such a long time. And I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you. Conditions have to be right. Where are we going to be in Japan in September? It's going to be a good track. It's the track that was laid for the 2020 Olympics that would happen in 21. At that time, Mondo said that was their fastest track. Then they came a year later saying this is their fastest track. But the track fast stuff is overrated in some ways. Most of these top tracks are already doing the things that get you to produce your very best at a major competition. Now, I don't know. Let's see. I, I think I think it can happen. If we're being honest with ourselves, I think Gabby. If you think about Gabby Thomas on it again, if they were to do it, and even if we exclude her, the United States are usually a bunch of high quality athletes. I imagine Sydney McLaughlin will get even better over the flat 400 meters, especially if she transitions to it. So there is room. The world record from Seoul, the Soviet Union did this, 1988? So it's a very long time, 3:15:17. And then last year, the United States did 3:15:27, which erased their national record that was also set the same time in 1988. So I think there's a great possibility that uh it that it can happen again. I don't know if they missed it. So to answer your question, I'm kind of rambling thinking about it. They should have broken the record last year. I didn't think they would have come close to it, but they didn't. And I think that if people are healthy, they assemble the right team, I think they have a good enough shot to get to it again. Let me get back to some of these comments here. Clip says, set my alarm for evening session and still didn't wake up. Hey, so it happens, man. It happens, Yeah. Objectivity. That purple chat didn't seem that fast to me. Interesting you would say this. Did you ever see my video on this subject? Activity. I'd gone to Paris and I did a whole video on the speed of the track. If not, I can share it with you in a second if you haven't seen it. It's on the channel though. I I yeah, I'll share it with you in a second. So track speed is an interesting thing. So I was very skeptical. I did a thing. The video that I did at the time when I was reflecting on it was why we shouldn't expect a lot of world records at the Paris Olympics. I think that was something somewhere around there. And in it, what I was trying to say was it matters there's multiple factors are at play, right? Usually at a major championships, athletes are in peak condition. That's kind of a given. I think the surface was a high quality surface. The trouble about the world record too is the stadium as well, the timing of the year as well. Paris can give you different types of climates. I think for most of the Olympics is hot, but you can get these downpours as well during the summer. Stade de France built 1998. Interesting stadium. There's not a lot of paces for breeze to come in through the Stade de France. And so when I looked at it and the reason why when I flew there and I went to Paris just to do I just went to Paris just to see that shit. Excuse me. And I I reflected on the 2003 World Championships that was held there. If you remember that World Championship, they had recently had a new track down on that time too. But you had to. The only gauge we had in the Stade de France was that competition to see where the wind readings were, and they were negligible. If we really looked at the wind readings, you weren't really getting massive readings in positive ones, right, and going closer to two. So that would, in a way, make it difficult for some athletes to even attempt world records. And some of these world records that we have are just too good. Like it's hard to go. Mondo says it's their fastest track they ever created. I don't know. There's no scientific study on that. They have Mondo does a lot of research with a lot of academics in Italy, in the United States. I actually even knew a couple of people. Well, no, I don't know them that well, but some people who have like authored papers with with people from Mondo. But most of it is like on the chemical components, the rubber stuff, all of that type of thing. At the time when I looked last year, I never really seen any peer-reviewed studies that really demonstrate the speed and whatever, because it probably isn't really true. So you have to look through uh, how track surfaces are marketed, or even shoes or anything like that. There is a scientific component, but also there is a marketing aspect of it. It is in the best interest of Mondo or anybody else to say their surface is the best, right? The thing about it is, for a good surface, you need good traction and you need, the energy return and propulsion or whatever they like to say. And I think it's pretty good. I suspect if you lay this in Oregon, or you laid this, it's a different surface in Oregon, or you lay this in a more open stadium where more breeze can come through or something like that, or a different elevation or so, you might get athletes doing something different. But from a Mondo perspective, it's an interesting track. Let me get back to someone. I'll share that video with you in a second too. The 400 times definitely might be an argument for the track. Yeah, I mean, there were some good times there. I mean, but in terms of the records on the track, we got Sydney McLaughlin. She's generational athlete. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there were some good times there, but there's a couple of Olympic records, but world records are hard to break. I think, yeah. Objective said, but the athletes didn't appear to be comfortable. Food was bad, lack of AC, plant-based pro. Yeah, so okay. Glad you brought that back up. So here's the thing. I am a bit shocked that people arrived at the Olympic Games not realizing what they were getting themselves into, and not by the athletes themselves, but the associations, because they knew Paris built the Olympics on being the greenest Olympics. We're not building anything. They only built two brand new facilities for the Olympics. Everything else was pop up or refurbishing stuff. Right? They built that new fantastic aquatic center and that indoor facility that did what's that sport? Some sport that I don't even watch. And everything else was outdoor, Plaza de Lancourt, they have all these outdoor biking thing. They retrofitted they put that stadium for beach volleyball in front the Eiffel Tower stadium and all of that stuff. And they weren't building any villages the way you probably would have anticipated you got in Beijing or some place that was trying to do some massive development. The French weren't doing it. The Olympics was on a cheap. Not that I'm saying they should spend it, because they shouldn't spend it, right? They did some work in Saint Denis where they trying to get some public housing going, or maybe not necessarily, redevelopment of some spaces, but they weren't investing the kind of infrastructure. And they told people that there's not going to be any AC or anything like that. So if you are the United States or you are Jamaica or whoever you are, you know this thing, and the U.S. athletes knew this. The U.S. organizers knew this, so they retrofitted some of these things with those portable ACs, or in some cases you have athletes not staying in the village, and it had multiple villages too. There's villages in different parts of the the place, right? Because they weren't doing anything. Even when you think about Stade de France, the renovations on Stade de France was minimal. And it's a very nice stadium, but it's built for the 1998 World Cup. And in the context of modern facilities, it's not. It is a nice place, but they had to do some interesting stuff. Like, one, if you know how Stade de France is, it's built multi-purpose. So when they play football in there for the French national team, the seats come down over the track. And that initially they had issues figuring out where to they had to figure out where to put an extra long jump run up. They eventually figured it out. They didn't have enough space for even media, so they had to take space outside of the seating area to accommodate the extra media. This is not like it's not structured in like a lot of boxes where like in some stadiums where they have all these really nice suites now, you can retrofit some of them and put extra media in these things. Never really structured for that kind of stuff, and they weren't intending on spending that kind of money because they know that it's not going to make sense. So even the warm-up track outside of Stade de France is really small. Like, it's ridiculous. What's it called? I forgot what it's called right now. It's not. It wasn't the kind of Olympics where it's not an emerging nation creating the Olympics, I think. So that's part of how I thought about it. Track for all, if we go back and look at the Olympics last year, race for race and performance for performance, it was the best world championships of Olympics of all time, excluding world. Probably so. I think it was high level competition. I love, I like what I saw. I mean, there's a lot of athletes missing too, but that happens at every Olympics. I think it was good. Yeah. I think we get what we get. I think sometimes we're spoiled, and sometimes you can get an athlete or two that come along and change the whole landscape of things and make you think about things differently. Just look at the men's 100. Last place finisher. Yeah, I think that 100-meter for men was really close, very tight. A lot of people running really fast. It was a good. I don't think it's the best 100 meters I've seen. I think, if I'm being honest, 2012 was probably much more competitive in terms of the level of athletes in there at an Olympics. 96 was really good because you had, Linford Christie did false start, but you had obviously Donovan won. Otto was there, and for the bronze, Frank Fredericks. There, Green Machine was in it. It was a really interesting Olympics too. Race. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's nostalgia too as well, but I know, I think we may reflect on that 100-meter race a little differently. It was really a close 100 meters for sure, and a lot of athletes running some really impressive times that couldn't get on the podium. The 800 meters for sure was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You got people running 141s and can't medal. So, and I think it showcased some really, really, really top stuff for sure. On reflection, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of lost my mind. Let me look for. I want to get you that video before you get off objectivity, because I think it. Yeah, you could tell me what you think about that video. I think I put it out some months ago. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, sure. I got a copy of it. So I'll put it in the chat if you want to check it out. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the video on the. Hopefully you can take a link. Yeah, it should be a link on that. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get your next comment here. I think another one just came through. Speaking of Shelly, what are your thoughts as to why she hasn't really addressed her situation publicly? I wish I knew, I don't know. It's it would be good if we know. And I also have so much respect for the body of work that I don't want to say anything either. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's also like, is she done? And if she is, it's totally fine, right? Didn't go out the way you'd want her to go out if that's it. But doesn't tarnish the legacy. I still think when you put a body of work together over 100 meters, I don't think we'll ever see the like over 100 meters. To be this good for that long, to do the things, even as she aged, it was really remarkable. Back-to-back Olympics. I don't think anyone would win as many world championship gold medals as she won, and I don't think anyone would even win as many Olympic gold medals in the single Olympic events, right? Because she's gotten the whole lot, right? Bronze and silver as well. It's a remarkable feat, and the 10.6 is a testament of how fast she could go. And if we're being honest with ourselves, not to rehash the debate, I think the world record really is the 10.54 from Elaine. I don't buy the FloJo record. I think that was a hurricane. World Athletics has a study on it, and they should have. I think that record on the books has certainly hurt the sport. And FloJo fans and people might say otherwise, but I think FloJo's world record would have been the run in Seoul. So Evelyn Ashford stuff, then to the one she did in Seoul, then Elaine would have gotten it, and it would look a good trajectory, and then you'd have gotten a lot of 10.6s around the world record, and it feels like you still have this high level running. The truth is, you can't really be an athlete and look at a 10.3 record and say, excuse me, I'm growing up to break that. It's just not a thing. It's outrageously way out there, and I worry about that. So, but yeah, I would just to. I know I went off on a tangent there. Just to finish the point, I think it would be good to have Fraser-Pryce address the situation. It would be good to have her one last shot at something, but we'll have to see. Yeah. Clip said, I'm thinking we should change up the way we build our 4x1 teams. Explain. I would like to see a team of Jordan Williams, Shericka Jackson, Naisha Berger, Tia Clayton. Well, I go back your first comment here. I think the way you want to build it up is to you need packs, right? And this is always the hard thing because it's an individual sport first, then you think relays afterwards. And I'm going to mention the United States, and then a lot of people will say, well, they have been doing all these things and without any success. But that doesn't mean if you don't organize and don't get the success, that means you throw everything out. Uh, I think you need a couple of teams. You need them to buy into the philosophy that it's important. Maybe run a couple of times, but that's very hard to do. I think, and then part of how you make up a team is not is built unless you're gonna go to a situation where you say we're gonna hold these camps a couple times a year, and you have to be in the mix to be in the pool once you make a team. Unless you're gonna make that declaration, then you just have to pick the team based off how the team is made, right? So what will happen is the people who made the individual stuff will get on the team, and then there's some discretion. I don't remember the rules fully for how they pick the teams, but there's some discretion there to create a squad. I don't really know what to tell you here, to be honest with you, about your lineup: Williams to Jackson to Berger to Clayton. I don't. I first they have to make the team. It could be two Claytons. It could be none of these athletes. It depends, right? It could be a Brianna Williams, right? She could be in fine form this year, right? You could also get someone coming out of nowhere, right? Uh, you could get what's her name? What's the her name's slipping me. She won World Junior Under 20 Championships in Peru. She's here in the States. Yeah, she used to be a Heidel. There could be a bunch of other athletes coming through. So I like the idea of identifying people uh who who can be a part of the mix, and you get them going, right? So yeah. Alana Reed. Thank you. Yeah, Alana Reed. Yeah. Is there world relays happening? Yeah, I think so. Isn't there one in China? You got to check. What year is this? 20. Yeah, there should be one in May in Guangzhou, I think. Let me check. Unless they postpone it. I think it's in May. Um it should be in May. Let me see. Yeah, there should be one in May of this year, May 10th and 11th in China. Yeah. Cliff, so when you think of Anita, as Gabby Thomas completed the 400 at the trials, but they were on. Yeah, because they're part of the squad. They pick it differently, right? So Sidney McLaughlin, you'd be foolish not to put her on it. There could be a case for the Gabby thing, but also that's kind of foolish not to have her on it too. It's always good to have an athlete like that, but I don't know. I mean, I think the Gabby Thomas role is similar to the kind of Shericka Jackson role, although Shericka Jackson was a quarter miler before too. But yeah, yeah, it is. I think they have to think about this. I hope they do the right things, especially on the men's side. I like what I saw that the men showed up to the World Indoor Championships, because you want them to be there, to be in the mix. And I don't think they'll suffer that problem uh as much this year. 'Cause I like what I saw yesterday from Rashawn Clark on the going sub 45. You can throw in a couple of those 400-meter hurdlers. They can do a job, and hopefully you get a bunch of guys running 400 meters. But I've been on record, and my thoughts on this is well documented. I think one of the biggest downfall of Jamaican sprinting is the quarter milers, man. Like, I think Arthur Wint and Herb McKinley, Les Lang, George Roden, who just died, and all those guys would be would be like Bert Cameron is still alive. You would be like, what the hell is going on, right? Like you should be producing so many guys. On a given year, Jamaica should have. And I'm being conservative here. 3 people in the sub 44 range. It should be that when you see the kind of talent that sometimes you're pushing through the high school level, 3. And then you probably need to have a couple that can go, like mid to lows 43s, and then a bunch of 44 low guys. I mean, it should be the case. It shouldn't be that problematic, but there's a number of other reasons around it too. And then you say it's a little politics too. Yeah, there's always some messy behavior going on as well. Yeah. But anyway. All right. So I wanted to come and do this night chat. I'm gonna try to do a lot more chats, a little more informal. We can talk about anything. You can set the agenda. I'll come with some agenda stuff. I'll try to be back again this week for a couple more lives. I know the high school championships is this week. I'm gonna watch some of that. And I always watch, even though I think I haven't been to one in 20 years or so, 20 something years. So, well, more than that, like 25 years or so. But yeah, it would be good. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's then the new Grand Slam will also coming through. I don't know. That's a very good question, man. I thought didn't we see her recently or last year? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. She didn't look so great last year. I don't know. I can't answer that. Objective is both fault. Had he double 2-4 with world records, Jamaicans would be doing that. Hey, you said it. No, I mean, I know you're joking. Athletes have to want it to, right? Like you have to want to do the work, and it's an unforgiving sport, and it's a poor person sport, as I like to often say. You have to spend so much money, and you can't, and you don't necessarily get the rewards, and you have to have the structure. You're gonna get me on another 40-minute rant, and I don't want to do this rant. It's after almost midnight, and I gotta go to work tomorrow. But you need to nurture these athletes better. They need to do better. They should be better at 400 meters, but it's hard. It's an unforgiving sport, and it doesn't pay that well unless you're really at the top of your game. And I don't know if that's going to change. I see Grand Slam coming, but I have a lot of reservations on that, but we'll see. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time. Be good, and we'll talk more track and field and other sports in the coming days. You guys take care. Bye-bye.